This is a story of a man murdered in a locked cabin on the Simplon Orient Express, on the way to Constantinople, now Istanbul, from Paris. This Orient Express, as it had been named, was one of the world's classiest and most refined locomotives. On this journey, you'll find travelers from all corners of the world, brought together by a shared goal. Step aboard and be whisked back to an age of timeless nostalgia and boundless glamour. Nothing is as it seems. Good morning, you guys. It is just about 6 a.m. I've been up for a couple of hours already, 4 o'clock, and I've been making my way through Agatha Christie's, The Murder on the Orient Express is one of my March books. So far, so good. The one complaint I have, which I bet a bunch of people are like, how can I keep up? How can I keep up? There is just so many characters that you have to kind of keep up with and follow. There's just so many. It's like, who is this person again? What country are they from, and what's their personality like what have they said to this person, and where were they? And it's just trying to keep track of everybody. That's like a little bit intense. So I've been making notes. No promises that I'll solve something like this. I have Dan Stevens, the actor, his audio book of Murder on the Orient Express. He's the one who's actually reading it to us, and of course I am following along with the text, because I don't know, I have to get used to just listening. So right now I'm just taking notes of everybody that has come up, and the list is pretty big. I think it's just about to stop because I'm on I'm on part 1, chapter 5. So the crime, we have officially found out who has died on the train, how they have died, around what time. And I was kind of expecting this person to die, even though Agatha Christie set it up to be like, oh, this is a person who is their personality is not the greatest. It's very off-putting and distressing. So this guy, Mr. Ratchet, who I think is an American, he has been stabbed in his cabin around 1 a.m. and most passengers who have already interacted with our detective, who I didn't know that was the detective, Monsieur Poirot, have not had a good feeling about him. They're like, the air around him is just off and weird, and he just has a mean look. Mr. Ratchet, because I can't say Monsieur because he's not French, but Mr. Ratchet, he's like, if I'm saying it right, I was like, that's such a funny name, Mr. Ratchet. He goes to Poirot, the detective, and asks for him to help him save my life, protect me, because I'm in danger and I fear that I have an enemy. And Poirot is like, maybe it's enemies, because usually you don't just have one enemy if you're in the position of power and influence and wealth. So yeah, I want to just quickly introduce you to so many characters real quick. This is my little detective notepad. So the way that Dan Stevens, and if you don't know who Dan Stevens is, he's the one who played the Beast in Beauty and the Beast. He's also in this kind of German type of film from Bleecker Street, I think. I don't know, I'm sorry. I'll try to put the name there. I just remember seeing a bunch of commercials of him, speaking in the actual Germanic language. And of course, one of the He's in this TV show as well. That does seem pretty cool. And then one of these other places that he definitely is most popular in is Downton Abbey, and I love him there as Matthew Crawley. That's definitely a great show. Yeah, I actually stopped watching Downton Abbey after his death because I just couldn't take it. First, I'm sorry, spoiler, sorry, but first Sybil dies while giving birth, and then Matthew right away after. I just was like, I need a break. I need a break. Over it! I need a break. So I got a beautiful little train ambiance going as I'm going through the book, just to, you know, make me feel like I'm really on the express. So, but yes, the way that Dan Stephen read Poirot's words, it felt like he was just a sly, mischievous, sneaky person. But I don't know, that's just the way that he has read his parts, and I was like, oh, who is this guy? Like, who is he? And then I kept hearing, oh, detective. I was like, okay, he's probably not the murderer. Okay, so we have Monsieur Poirot, who's the detective. We have this woman, Mary Debenham. She is, I think, a governess. I think there's an English or an Indian colonel. Monsieur Book, who's this short, stout, elderly Belgian dude who seems to be on Poirot's side. He's like a friend and an acquaintance. There was Lieutenant, and it's kind of funny, Dan Stevens, he keeps, when he was saying it, he said lieutenant, like German style. Lieutenant! Lieutenant, they're here! So there was Lieutenant Bosk. There's a Princess Drago. Well, I forgot because I just did like chicken scratch. So she's like this Russian who has gained a lot of wealth. There's Mr. Ratchet, who's the mean character and whatnot. He's the one who has officially died. And who else? We have a Hungarian couple. There's someone named McQueen. Mrs. Hubbard, she's a fun character. She's this American who has lots to say. There's Colonel Arbuthnot, the Swedish lady, and the Italian, and of course the conductor and some of the servants and you know, attendants. So we're making our way through. I had a feeling Mr. Ratchet was not going to be the person who committed the crime, even though like they set him up to be like, oh, suspect him because he's all mean and sinister looking. But it's like, watch it be Mrs. Hubbard. This American woman who's like, I just don't feel good about him. I don't like him sleeping next to me in that cabin, etc., etc. She just has lots to say. So wish me luck. I really would love to kind of solve this, but who knows? It's a lot of characters to get through. So I'm in the kitchen right now. The sun is coming up. I just wanted to give you guys a quick little update, like literally not moment after the body was found. So it seems like the door was locked and chained from the inside, and one of the employees who works for the train, I think, he's a doctor, and he said that, oh, you know, everybody's kind of assuming maybe it possibly could be suicide maybe, but then the point is brought up that, hey, this person was stabbed, you know, 10 to 12 times. Is that even possible? That, you know, is it suicide? And they're speculating that it could have been a hack job done by a woman. They're not too sure that this is suicide. Yeah, and then also there seems to be a moment where they say that this kind of door or window inside his like sleeper cabin was left open, and we don't see any tracks in the snow, so we don't think that the assailant escaped from that way. So Powell, he goes ahead and resigns to interview all of the different passengers on the train and to examine the body, because Mr. Bilk, his acquaintance, is very confident in, you know, his talents and skills and whatnot. So that's pretty good. So McLean is one of the first to have an interaction with Powell after the murder. He's being interviewed, and McQueen is Mr. Ratchet's assistant. So he's his employee, and he seems to not be quite surprised that this guy is dead. He's like, oh, they finally got to him. Like, oh, you're not surprised? You know, that's not good. But I don't believe it would have been him, you know what I mean? So, yeah, and then Paulo just tells him that he works for the Compagnie Internationale des Wagons-Lits. And McQueen is like, so? Like, he's not impressed, or he doesn't even know that company and whatnot. And Paulo's like, wow. So yeah, that's the update. So I'm a little halfway through the book. I'm almost 60% through. I'm on chapter 13, I believe. So we've pretty much interviewed everybody on the train. We've gotten our first class passengers: Princess Dragomirov, Count and Countess Andrani, Colonel Abernoth, and Mr. Hardman. That's the first class folks. And then the second class, Miss Debenham, Antonia Foscarelli, and Fräulein Schmidt. So Fräulein Schmidt was just interviewed, and basically Poirot, the detective, his last couple of interviews with some passengers are like, starting to break up the monotony of, no evidence and no breakthroughs and whatnot. So it's like he's trying to kind of shake them up a little bit by throwing curveball questions or presenting the questions in a different demeanor, meaning like maybe he's more soft-spoken with certain passengers and a little bit more strict, like good cop, bad cop kind of thing. So, I don't know. I feel like Schmidt. I'm watching too much New Girl, which isn't really a thing. I feel like Stitch. I'm lost. You know what I mean? Like, I just feel like there's just so much props to detectives and cops who do proper investigative work and have to deal with all of these details. It's like, what the heck? How are you supposed to keep all of this stuff in order? Of course, you got your notepad and whatnot, but still, it's like you have to analyze and break down and just like kind of have instinct and decipher who's lying to you and like link things up. So it's pretty incredible. I think it's also because I'm not taking the best notes right now, so I'm just having fun going through the book and just like questioning who could have done this. So far the two folks who we're looking at sideways are Mary Debenham, who's this governess who's trying to go back to London, and then also Frau Schmidt. Yeah, because it's like they're hesitating in some of their responses. So I don't know. And then the people who are with Poirot right now in the room, Mr. Book and Dr. Constantine, they're like, are you sure a little woman could do such a crime? I'm like, man, you don't know. You don't know that girls are crazy sometimes. So yeah, I'm trying to wrap this up. I'll let you know who has done it, obviously, by the end of the video, but we're gonna also, I'm still reading other books as well, and I'll update you guys on that as well. I think I need to go drink a smoothie, some brain power or something, because I don't know, I'm hearing the information and I'm following their stories, but I'm like, how do I link it all up? Who was here at the cabin at this time, but this person found this piece of evidence, and it's just like, oh, it's a lot. I feel like right now, like I'm going through a Psych episode, or I'm in the Scooby-Doo gang, or even that Lizzie McGuire episode where they kind of played a mystery game, and it was so fun. I was like, oh, this looks like Flapper's 20s time. So yeah, I remember that being one of my first interactions and first exposures rather of investigative type of mystery work. It was through that show, Lizzie McGuire. So yeah, so far I really do like it. It's just kind of tough to decipher it, but I think it's really on me because I'm not taking the best of notes. I'm really just like trying to follow the story and enjoy it. So that's that.
Part 1. The Facts. Chapter 1. An important passenger on the Taurus Express. It was 5 o'clock on a winter's morning in Syria. Alongside the platform at Aleppo stood the train grandly designated in railway guides as the Taurus Express. It consisted of a kitchen and dining car, a sleeping car, and 2 local coaches. By the step leading up into the sleeping car stood a young French lieutenant, resplendent in uniform, conversing with a small, lean man, muffled up to the ears, of whom nothing was visible but a pink-tipped nose and the 2 points of an upward-curled moustache.
So it's been a few months since I've actually even picked up the Agatha Christie book, and I wanted to kind of come back to it. I didn't want to just finish the mystery and, just read it. I wanted to have a whole video for it. So yeah, I have paused, and it's been quite a while, and I just want to let you guys know that beforehand. But I have been reading recently, and it's been going pretty well. I really, really like this book a lot. I'm also listening to the audio book with Dan Stevens' voice, as I've said in an earlier clip, and it's so good. He does the voices so well. Each person has their different rhythm and cadences and unique, distinguished voice, so it makes it very fun to follow. I was having a lot of trouble with like all of the different characters that are on the train. You have all these suspicious, sinister characters, so to speak, and it's kind of difficult to try to weed out who's who and, who could be truly the suspect, because it could be anybody, you know what I mean? It could even be Poirot's friend, Monsieur Book, if you guys know who I'm talking about. But yeah, so I've been reading, and I've made my way through a lot of the book. I'm like halfway through it. I should have it here, but I actually have the physical book, and I'm listening to the audiobook. So far, we found out that Mr. Cassetti, or Ratchet, okay, his name was Ratchet, known by everybody as Ratchet, but his true name is Cassetti, and he's apparently this kind of a gang leader who kidnapped this little girl and killed her. His organization handled this kind of a gruesome crime years ago. It doesn't really specify when, but it does say years ago, and it's called like the Armstrong kidnapping case. So Cassetti changed his name to Ratchet, and he's been kind of doing a little bit of globe-trotting with a few people. His secretary, who's on the train, who is called McQueen. He's an American, and he also has a British kind of valet as well, and I think maybe one other person in his entourage. But yeah, he has been stabbed multiple times, and he also appears to have 2 postmortem wounds. And from what Poirot is deducing from his investigation with this Greek doctor who's named Dr. Constantine, they're deducing that there are 2 different killers. So it might be a man, it might be a woman, it might be just 2 different people. So there's a lot of characters here. So I'm just gonna go back to reading, and in a little bit we're gonna kind of write down everything, and I'm gonna do a whole line across the living room to see if I can try to make everything as visual and fun as possible.
The door was locked and chained on the inside, said Poirot thoughtfully. It was not suicide, eh? The Greek doctor gave a sardonic laugh. Does a man who commits suicide stab himself in 10, 12, 15 places? He asked. Poirot's eyes opened. That is great ferocity, he said. It is a woman, said the chef de train, speaking for the first time. Depend upon it, it was a woman. Only a woman would stab like that. Dr. Constantine screwed up his face thoughtfully. She must have been a very strong woman, he said. It is not my desire to speak technically. That is only confusing, but I can assure you that 1 or 2 of the blows were delivered with such force as to drive them through hard belts of bone and muscle. It was not clearly a scientific crime, said Poirot. It was most unscientific, said Dr. Constantine. The blows seem to have been delivered haphazard and at random. Some have glanced off, doing hardly any damage. It is as though somebody had shut their eyes and then in a frenzy struck blindly again and again.
Okay guys, so it is a little bit later. I've been making all of my little notes on this avocado paper of the different people that I suspect. Pretty much you have to write down everybody. I have my bulletin board over here and we have some notes. It's not going to be as extensive as I wanted it to be, but you know, I've written what I could. My sister was so kind enough to actually write down some people's names and the 5 W's of who, what, where, why, when. So kind of want to share that with you. So I have like little notes here, like Hector McQueen. He's an American from New York and he's Cassetti's secretary. He didn't particularly like Cassetti, and he wasn't actually surprised when he found out that the guy was stabbed in his compartment. They were traveling, I think, and they met in Persia and they've been traveling the world together, you know? And then one of my favorite characters, Caroline Hubbard. We wrote her down as an American. She actually had the compartment that was right next to Ratchet, the victim, who everybody did not seem to like. But yeah, Caroline Hubbard, she's an American. She's always going on and on about her daughter. If you've ever read the book, it's so funny. And the way that Dan Stevens delivers it is hilarious too. And what's absolutely eerie, somebody apparently came inside of her compartment around the time of the murder, around the time of death. So oh, it kind of gives you chills because it's like she was scared out of her wits under her covers trying to ring the bell to see if she can get an attendant or the conductor to come in. So, and apparently there was a uniform button that was left by a valet. Maybe it was a man, maybe it was a woman who was wearing this uniform. So we're not quite sure. But somebody did come into her compartment after the murder, or you know, before we're not sure. It's a little hazy. And of course I have all the timestamps for when the murder occurred and who died and how many, you know, stab wounds, etc., etc. Now, this is somebody I highly suspect, and I've heard that a lot of folks, including my sister, she said that she wasn't surprised when she found out who the murderer actually was. It was a bit of a letdown or anticlimactic, if you will. But this is a person I suspect because he's been at the beginning of the book and the journey, and he's had a very kind of hush-hush relation with another person. So his name is Colonel Arbuthnot, can't say that, British India, and he had a connecting ride to actually go into the Simpleton Orient Express. So he was at the very beginning riding the train that had a stop, and then he got onto the Orient Express. Now, here's the person that I think is his accomplice possibly, and I could be dead wrong, of course. Miss Mary Debenham. Okay, she's British, and she's also a governess. So they say that, you know, in the book, those two, and I'm sorry for the light change. The sun is going behind a cloud, I'm sure. But yes, in the book, it says that Miss Mary Debenham and Colonel Arbuthnot, they kind of had like a little hush-hush conversation at the very beginning. And Hercule Poirot saw that, you know, they were like, you know, talking and fretting about their delay to catch the Orient Express. Mary Debenham, I believe, even said, I have to be on that train. I need to catch that train. And then I immediately suspected her. I was like, why do you need to catch that train? For what? You know, besides the fact, obviously, you want to catch your ride, but it just sounded so urgent and so mysterious and everything. And everything is something, if that makes sense. So it's like you have to kind of, you know, pay attention to the little itty bitty clues that Agatha Christie leaves for us, you know? And also, when she found out that the, Cassetti, Ratchet, when she found out that Mrs. Debenham found out that Ratchet died, she was kind of cold, a little distant. She's not in hysteria like all the other passengers. So you know, kind of question her a little bit. And I just want to talk about one more character, even though there are so many. There's the Italian, there's also a Swede, there's a Russian princess on board, a Hungarian couple, and just so many others. But Mr. Book, he is also leading the investigation with Poirot, and he's conducting interviews, and he's kind of like in the train business as a director, and he's the director of the Wagon Lit International, something that I had mentioned earlier, and he's from Belgium, I believe. But yeah, I like his character. He's very genteel and fun as well. Now, my sister was also super kind enough to print some pictures from the movie, so I can kind of put a face to certain names. Yeah, so I was so shocked that we have, I forgot his name, Johnny Depp as Cassetti. So Johnny Depp is going to be Cassetti. That is so funny to me. Oh my gosh. Oh, okay, this guy is Count Andreni. Let me see if I have any notes on him. He's one of the Hungarians, so that's pretty cool to have his face here. So yeah, Count Andreni, he's traveling with his wife, Countess Indreni, and they're Hungarian, and what else? Yeah, I don't have too many details, but it's like the worst part about trying to solve this murder, it's like everybody seems to have a decent alibi, or they don't seem suspicious, except for a couple of characters like Mrs. Mary Debenham. That's who I highly suspect. But yes, I have Count Indreni. Oh, Countess Indreni. I know that face. I just don't know her name. But yes, this is Countess Indreni. Very pretty headpiece. Lipstick on point. Oh, who is this? I forgot her name. Pilar Estravalos. I don't know if this character actually appears later on because I'm still not done with the book. Selma Penelope Cruz, is it? I don't know. Anyway, always got those two confused. Pierre Michel. So this is one of the conductors on the train. He sounds very meek and timid, and I kind of suspect him as well a little bit because he's the one who's been kind of traveling between all the different compartments throughout the night, and you know, I kind of suspect him as well. No one is off the chopping block, you know what I mean? I'm not sure who this is. Mr. Marquez. I don't know who that is. Oh, this is Hector McQueen. I was not expecting him to be Ratchet's assistant. So this is the American who's been traveling with, I guess, Johnny Depp's character. Yeah, I was not expecting him. Oh, okay. And they made Colonel Arbuthnot him. What's his name? Isn't he from Hamilton? But I know him more so from a show called Person of Interest. I think that's him. I could be dead wrong. Okay, so that's Colonel Arbuthnot. Oh no, I was expecting Caroline Hubbard to be a little bit more of a plump woman. They got Michelle Pfeiffer doing her role. But yeah, Caroline Hubbard, she's one who's in hysteria about the death, and she was the one who has the compartment next to Cassetti. Oh, Monsieur Book. Again, not really picking the right faces in my opinion for the characters. I was expecting somebody else, more stocky and older, maybe with a nice handlebar mustache, but this is Monsieur Book. He's the one leading the investigation. Okay, that's exactly how I pictured Mary Debenham. Okay, she's the one that I suspect a lot. Oh, the Princess Dragomirov. So this particular character, she is a Russian who has a lot of money and is traveling with, you know, her group, of course. And something that is particularly interesting that I want to note is that everybody seems to have noticed somebody leaving the area of the murder with a scarlet kimono, but they couldn't catch it whether it was a woman or a man. It could have been a sheepishly small man dressed in a kimono trying to, you know, pull up some like smoke and mirrors a little bit. But yeah, so this is a Princess Dragomirov. She's from Russia and she's traveling and she's very rich. Oh, Gerard, I love him so much. I love this actor so much. Yeah, Mr. Hardman, he's an American. So I'm actually stopped at his evidence. The way that Agatha Christie wrote it, she has a chapter for each of the suspects or passengers that we're dealing with. But yes, I'm like halfway through the book. But yeah, I actually haven't gotten to this character yet, but he is an American who's pretty flamboyant and loud. He wears very loud outfit, and he's been in talks and communications with this Italian. And I guess my sister didn't find one for Dr. Constantine because she put a big old question mark with a fingerprint, which is so cool. And then finally oh yes, okay, so there's Greta Olsen. Greta Olsen, she's the Swede and she's pretty sheepish, and I kind of suspect her as well. You know, the quiet ones that you have to be worried about, you know? But anywhoosies, I'm gonna go ahead and line her up with some twine and stick these guys up and have a little fun with that. One thing to quickly note, they did state that the murder happened around like 1:15 in the morning when the train stopped because there was a huge like embankment of like mound of snow that prevented the snow from the train from moving forward, and it looks like the train stopped somewhere in Yugoslavia. And there are a lot of reasons why people would want to kill Ratchet. He did such a horrific crime that, like, honestly, a lot of people are like, I'm glad he's dead. There's a kidnapping of a young, like 2 or 3 year old. They're extorting money from the very wealthy parents, the Armstrongs, and they've already killed the victim. Sorry about the noise in the background, it's just my sister. But yeah, they've already killed the little girl and they're still extorting money, and they just kind of leave her body for them to find. So they do this kind of ruse all the time apparently. And the guy got off on a technicality. So it's like, yeah, you're POS, you know? Yeah. Another thing, there were threatening letters that were written to Mr. Ratchet. It has 2 different like writing and handwriting. So that's something to consider as well. Oh, that was so good. Thank you. And we're, you know, all these little things that say that there it could be two people. It's like the post-mortem things. Like they say it's the left hand, right hand. So I'm gonna sprawl these all out so that way we can take a look at them.
Air 12, new location.
Still 90 roger.
Okay, so now I'm gonna do like a rough placement of certain characters and people on the board, the bulleted board. So I just want to kind of like lay out everybody so I can see it, to see if that can kind of give me some clarity, because I am a very visual person. You guys, I think I said this also in a previous clip. Do not mind me if I'm repeating myself because this was filmed months ago. But yeah, I honestly thought the way that Dan Stevens was reading Hercule Poirot, I thought that he was a suspect or even the murderer. I was like, he's reading him in a very sinister, devious fashion. And like, come to find out he's actually the one helming the investigation. Oh my god. Okay, so we have some things written down here. The lead investigator is Hercule Poirot. He's taking the reins with Mr. Book and Dr. Constantine, who's a Greek. So I kind of like broke it down here as to who we have: Cassetti, Ratchet, what happened, a murderer, when it was about 1:15 in the morning. There's of course some stabbing and post-mortem. It's snowing and the train has completely stopped. Where is this happening? Of course, in his cabin in the Orient Express. How? He was stabbed about 12 times, and it could be like a, you know, a dual team, a double duo. I don't know how to say that, but yes, it could be a man or a woman. Yeah, so there's like different force for each stab. Yeah, they say that the stabs were done very violently, and it depends on exactly how the person was swinging is how they kind of figured out that this was like a double team possibly. Some are deep, some are shallow, some are in different directions. And again, there's post-mortem wounds. Right and left hand might be used. Now, I wrote a super quick why. Well, I didn't write it, my sister did. Multiple motives due to that thing that happened in New York, the gang association with the Armstrong kidnapping case. Cassetti did receive some threatening letters in different handwriting, so it might be two or more persons writing one letter each. That was burned, actually. No weapon found, which is kind of important. I'm like, where's the murder weapon? And then I wrote a couple other little notes, and then here are some suspects. Mr. Book, a little background about him. Mrs. Mary Debenham, Cardinal Arbuthnot, Caroline Hubbard, Hector McLean, and Princess Dragomianov. I don't think they have a picture for her. But yeah, this is what the board's looking like. I think it's pretty good. I'm gonna go ponder some more about what the heck is going on in this investigation. About 3 pages left of the story. Look, like a sliver. Let me see here. Give or take. And I still haven't figured out who is the murderer. I can just tell you that my head is spinning and that the story is very convoluted, and it's it's crazy because almost everyone in that train car, they're connected to the Daisy Armstrong kidnapping murder case. So a lot of different nationalities and a lot of different people who were actually on the train were working for the Armstrongs. Whether you're a gardener or a chauffeur or a cook or a governess, a nanny, a nurse, a sister, a niece, whatever. It's just... So, basically, Powell, he's done a great job at kind of, giving you all the details as far as linking everybody and their positions and roles in the past. So most everyone who gave their initial interview to him has lied in some shape or form. We even have somebody who was like a war buddy, a war comrade to the colonel. So yeah, just everyone is just lying. It's like, oh yeah, I've been to America and I've switched out my passport. I've been here and yeah, I'm acquainted, but I'm loyal, so I'm not gonna speak. And of course, if I do speak, I'm going to incriminate myself. So there's a lot of motive, presented in almost every single character. It's crazy. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to finish reading this little sliver here on camera, and then you will see my reaction. I hope it's not anticlimactic because this is insane. You haven't even told us who it is, like all the way into the very, very last bit. So we shall see. My God. This is something that I was thinking as well, but of course it's that feeling of like, oh, placing bets and whatnot, and like if your actual bet, whatever you were betting, if it wins, is like, yeah, I knew it. And then it's like, oh, if it lost, I knew it. It's like, okay, no. But why are all these people traveling together? This is kind of incredible. That's what I was thinking. When they were doing the second interviews, they brought everybody back, and the majority of them have been lying, and they all somehow have been connected to the Armstrong case. So I'm like, oh my gosh. It says here, Poirot, the detective says, and then, messieurs, I saw light. They were all in it. For so many people connected with the Armstrong case to be traveling by the same train by a coincidence was not only unlikely, it was impossible. It must be not chance, but design. Yeah, I'm like, did you guys all, this is a little weird. It's a little weird that all of you people are here. I remember the remark of Colonel Arbuthnot's about trial by jury. A jury is composed of 12 people. Oh my God, that's crazy. That's crazy. There were 12 passengers. Ratchet was stabbed 12. Oh, that's creepy.
What is this? Some kind of sick joke, buddy?
They each... No, Agatha. Agatha, no. Don't tell me these sick people each stabbed Ratchet. Oh my God, I'm reading. That's so weird. Why would... Oh my God. Y'all all going to jail. Y'all all going to jail.
I don't want to go to jail.
Yugoslavian jail, okay? Oh my God, no. What? Okay, a jury is composed of 12 people. There were 12 passengers. Ratchet was stabbed 12 times. And the thing that had worried me all along, the extraordinary crowd traveling in the Istanbul-Calais coach at a slack time of year was explained. Ratchet had escaped justice in America. There was no question as to his guilt. I visualized a self-appointed jury of 12 people who condemned him to death and were forced by exigencies of, I'm saying that in a French way, but yeah, exigencies of the case to be their own executioners. Like, you're the judge, the jury, and the executioner. Taken to the gallows. Okay, and immediately on that assumption, the whole case fell into beautiful, shining order. I saw it as a perfect mosaic. Each person playing his or her allotted part. It was so arranged that if suspicion should fall on any one person, the evidence of one or more of the others would clear the accused person and confuse the issue. Exactly. It's like everybody is accounted for. Everybody has an alibi. Everybody is like, yeah, no, this person was sleeping. They took a sleeping pill. No, this person definitely was like reading around this time. It's like, there seems to be an explanation for it all. I really hope that her other stories are a little... not as, this was very, I don't know. I don't know what to say about this. Like, dang, it's just a little shocker to think that, oh my gosh, all 12 of them could have done this? Like, is this the case? Oh my gosh, I'm almost done. Almost. Just like, it's over. Whew. Exactly, the case seemed fantastically impossible. Like, I can't, I'm not, I think I know logic. I think I know logic. Oh yeah, maybe you don't. But it's like, I feel like, you know, certain logical things I am able to grasp just a little bit. I was like, I can't be that bad. Like they're giving you the clues. I'm like, what the heck is going on? So it turns out that all of these freaks killed this man and took time to... Oh, this is unfathomable. Unfathomable. Did this solution explain everything? Yes, it did. The nature of the wounds, each inflicted by a different person. The artificial threatening letters. Artificial since they were unreal, written only to be produced as evidence. Doubtless there were real letters warning Ratchet of his fate, which McQueen destroyed, substituting for them these others. It's like, you guys, like, so many times they slipped up, like, oh, there was a letter? Like, you know, like, you're the one who, like, damn it, I left a little piece of evidence behind. It's just so icky. Like, they're liars. You don't want to be a liar, folks. Like, you don't want to lie. This is crazy. I don't see how this is anticlimactic, because I was really thinking it was one or two persons. To find out that it's all 12 of them, I cannot even believe this. Ugh. I was like, what about Mrs. Hubbard, the seemingly perfectly, you know, neurotic American lady who was like scared to death, apparently? Not. Yeah, so it seems like they all went through Mrs. Hubbard's compartment and took a stab at Cassetti or Ratchet. And of course, they themselves would never know which blow actually killed him. Oh God, that's so sick. Ugh. That's devious. I'm reading and I knew this one. I really knew this, heart of hearts, that this guy, this wagon lit conductor, Pierre Michel, he was privy to the plot. It's unbelievable. It's crazy. I was like, something about him. I was like, you ain't heard nothing? You ain't seen nothing?
Come on, son.
Mr. Conductor Man. No. I had a feeling somebody on the train who, like, how did the uniform, you guys have to read it, of course, because maybe if you haven't read Murder on the Orient Express, it makes absolutely no sense what I've just stated to you, and I hopefully, you know, you're okay with spoilers. But yes, it's like, how did the person end up with, you know, a uniform and stuff like that? I was like, you have an inside man. There's an inside man. Yes. And it is Pierre Michel, his little weak and meager, oh no, mon cher, c'est pas moi. Like, yeah, right. To explain why this conductor could have been involved in this here crime, since he had been working for the train company for so long. It appears that, again, the Armstrong case, just to be very clear about it, the Armstrong case involved this little girl who was kidnapped and killed, and multiple people perished, in a sense, because of that death. So like, her mother died, the father, Colonel Armstrong, was left widowed, and even the nursery maid, like, I think threw herself out of a window, suicide style. Just god awful, right? And she was French. So Pierre Michel is French, and that girl was his daughter. So that's kind of his involvement in the crime. Okay, guys. Oh, I'm just freaking out over here. Almost done wrapping it up, but finally, I want to know Mrs. Hubbard's role here, and it says here, there remains Mrs. Hubbard. Now, Mrs. Hubbard, let me say, played the most important part in the drama. By occupying the compartment, communicating with that of Ratchet, she was more open to suspicion than anyone else. Gosh. In the nature of things, she could not have an alibi to fall back upon. To play the part she played, the perfectly natural, slightly ridiculous American fond mother. Exactly. An artist was needed. But there was an artist connected with the Armstrong family, Mrs. Armstrong's mother, Linda Arden, the actress. He stopped. Oh God. Yeah, it's like, what? Reading this right, is Mrs. Hubbard Linda Arden, the grandma of Daisy Armstrong, the kidnapped child, the murdered child, playing this role? She was like an amazing actress, Linda Arden. And Mrs. Hubbard, this psycho, seems to have been playing a comedic role that she has not rehearsed long enough for. What's going on? Huh? Did they just let all these people get away with murder? Murder? Is this what's happening? No. Are you have no idea. Look what I'm wearing. Let me calm down if I break out in hives. From my understanding, if I read that correctly, Poirot is releasing the case to the director of the wagon lit, the conductor of the train, whatever, and also to this Greek doctor, Constantine. I would say Constantinople. Constantine. They're going to give them a fabricated story. Is that what I'm hearing? You have no idea. Oh my gosh. I am not happy about this. Like, what is this, Agatha? Are you kidding? That's not justice. You all stabbed him. You all plotted. This was intentional. This was premeditated. This is crazy. This is crazy. What? Okay, I'm done. You guys, please tell me if other Agatha Christie novels or if they have a focus on justice, because this is unacceptable. This is unacceptable. Okay. Well, I want to thank you guys so much for joining me today on my adventure of trying to figure out who the heck murdered Cassetti Ratchet. I just tailspin, head spin. I'm all out of sorts. That's what I'm looking for. I'm in a bad way. This is crazy. I think now I want to go and just go read Harry Potter or something where it makes a little more sense. Even though people did die, it makes a little bit more sense. This is unbelievable. I cannot believe this is the ending. I find it just absolutely ridiculous. Like, why? Like, why? Like, I have to have balance. I have to have, like, a justice scale, and it's tipping in the wrong direction. But nevertheless, I want to thank you guys so much for tuning in, hanging out with me, solving a mystery here, the very queen of crime, Agatha Christie. We'll see if we can do another one of these. It was very daunting and very hard on me because it felt like a homework assignment. I was being so hard on myself trying to solve this thing, but I was like, just have some fun, girl. Just have fun. Yes, well, thank you so much again for watching, and you guys have a wonderful rest of your week. Bye.